It's time to talk to our boy, Eric Nathan, Barstool Nate, Little Nate X. What up, Nate Dog? How are you, buddy?
Guys, it's the first Tuesday in a long time that we have a little bit of sadness in our voices. It was a hell of a season. It was a fun season. It was so great to talk to you guys every Tuesday after a Sunday or Monday night win, which we had a ton of. And it's January 28th, and I just cannot wait for next season to start. I don't care about the draft. No off-season stuff will get me through the off-season. I'm just ready for the season to start again, and I have never felt this way in my life.
B and I were talking about it this morning. Like, not only is it the end of this wild run for the Burgundy and Gold, it's also just about the end of football in general. And both of those things are sad, and they kind of combine for this gut punch. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, this awesome year was so cool, and it ended in a real crappy way in Philly. And so there's that. And then you're like, oh, dude, there's only the Super Bowl left, and the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. Like, it's just like there's a lot of factors.
Yeah.
So after the game, I was sad. I was down. It was like, wow, the season's over. This stinks. But then you start reflecting and you start thinking that we just went to the NFC Championship game in Jaden's rookie year. And I think we're still not talking enough about that. And I don't think we could ever talk enough about that. It's not like this was year 5 and we broke through and got to that NFC Championship game. It was year 1 and we went to the NFC Championship game, one game from the Super Bowl in year 1. So there's a lot to be happy about. There is a lot to be optimistic about. And that's why it's like the football's not over. In some ways, it's just beginning, because if we want to look at it on the flip side, now we get to continue building the team, building the roster, free agency, the draft, etc., and then come back with, a very updated, upgraded roster for next season, coming after going to the NFC freaking championship game. So it stinks the season's over. It stinks the Eagles are in the Super Bowl. There's no denying that every single scumbag Eagles fan deserves nothing but sadness and terrible things to happen to them. But we have a lot of good things coming. I think we'll be back. I don't think this is a fluke. I've seen that word flying around your station. I don't think this was a fluke.
Not from our program.
I agree with you 100% on that, Nate.
But I think this is a sign of good things to come, not a flash in the pan, not a remember that time we went to the NFC Championship game. I think the answer to that will be which one, not, oh, yeah, I remember.
Hey, as you look at the season, like, it's things you look at and you take it with you and it kind of gets you over it and it can take care of you till the season starts again. Then you look for something else. What will be that one thing
that I'm looking forward to or looking back on?
What do you look back on that's going to be able to take you towards next year until that season starts? Because it's going to be something that you got to hold on to.
Just so many great moments from this season, right? Like the Bears Hail Mary happened, like the beatdown of the Cardinals and the Panthers and the Browns, that 3 straight weeks where we all looked at each other like, oh, this team's for real. Just Jaden in general, just progressing and improving week after week, his pinpoint accuracy, his poise, his demeanor, and just the way he was able to put this entire team on his shoulders, a roster that many experts in the field called a bottom 5 roster in the league, and led us to, the NFC Championship game. And it's just, there's so many good things to look back on that we did not expect to be looking back on right now, or, maybe even next season. We didn't expect to get here this quickly. It looks like Cliff is going to stick around. It looks like, it looks like a lot of great things from this season will carry over to next season. And the schedule might be a little harder, but our roster is going to be better. So I really expected this to be the norm. I don't expect this to be an overachieving year. I expect this to be, this is who we are. This is what our culture is. This is what our franchise is. Let's continue this in the next season.
Talking with our friend Barstool Nate here from Barstool Sports. You can follow all his work at Barstool Nate on X and Instagram. I am hesitant to get too far down the road of like, NFC title games become the expectation, right?
Sure.
Every year is its own entity. But I think it's hard to look at what Jaden did this year and think it won't be replicated. And I think if people try to look too much at the, all the one score games and all that, they coach that, they teach that, they work on that. I thought after the Chiefs game,
does a lot of one score games? The Chiefs.
Yeah.
And they have become the standard.
You know who does a lot of one score games? Good teams.
Yes.
Because why does everybody love the Red Zone channel? Because from 3:30 to 4:30 every Sunday,
highlights.
There's 5 or 6 crazy ass games coming down to the wire.
Yeah.
Like that's just the league, dude. The league is built for every team to go 8-9 or 9-8. And what changes that is really good players making big plays and big opportunities. And frankly, I think Washington got one of those guys now.
Yeah, and I'll add on that. A coach who understands time management, clock management, end of game management to put the roster in a position to win the game. That we saw it all season. Bad coaches can screw their teams out of opportunities to win the game. Our coaching staff gave this team opportunities to win those close games. And then through talent and then Will and Jaden Daniels, they did it. They won all those close games that over the last 10 seasons we lose. That's the difference.
Yo, I agree, man. And I think we talked about this dude, Dylan Thompson, that they hired as a kind of player advancement person. The fact that they hired this dude, Dave Gardy, I feel like Sheehan has always talked about this. And I think he nominated himself, but maybe it wasn't. But there has been this theory that coaches should hire someone to manage clock, when to go for it, all of that stuff that comes up in the moment in games that frankly is really hard to keep a wrap on because you have so much other stuff going on. Yeah. Washington did that. And I feel like nobody talked about it, and it made an impact all year in Dave Gardy. They hired him away from the league to come in and run that stuff.
But
it was a big deal.
The coach that does it has to also be one that's willing to listen.
Got to put your balls on the line.
Because most coaches in the moment, they don't want to hear a damn thing.
Sure. That's a great point.
And that's how we got here. And I'll shout this from the mountaintops. It's from the top down, from Josh Harris down. He trusts Adam Peters. Adam Peters then goes out and hires Dave Gardy. Then Dave Gardy is in Dan Quinn's ear, and Dan Quinn trusts Gardy because Gardy's trusted by Peters, and Peters is trusted by Josh Harris. And they're all aligned. They're all in same wavelength. And that's how we won games. You're 1,000,000,000% correct. Everybody, there's no turmoil. There's no leaks. There's no drama. There's no egos. Everybody's on the same page to help this team win football games. And everybody this season did their job and did their role so perfectly and just allowed this roster that's going to look much different in the next couple of years because this roster is frankly not that good. We know this, and I think they know it, but everybody did their job to perfection. It was always next man up. It was always playing to win the game, playing for each other, and they did it. And it's only going to improve when you get better players in these jobs, that can protect a little better, that can make that first tackle and not allow those extra yards. And despite all of that, let me say it again. NFC Championship game. We were just there. It's not like we squeaked into a wild card game. We went on the road in Tampa, kicked their ass, went on the road to Detroit, outcoached them in every single way and kicked their ass. It's like, that's what this team is now. Will there be bumps in the road? Absolutely. I don't, maybe we lose 2 games in a row next season and people start throwing around the fluke word again. I don't want to hear any of that. This team and franchise and front office and organization is set up for just the foreseeable future. As long as Jaden is Jaden and Adam Peters is Adam Peters, I trust 1,000,000,000% that we have now set a new expectation in Washington.
I agree with you, man. I think things have changed dramatically. I don't want that to be – I think we've got to remind ourselves how incredibly difficult it is to go on these types of runs and celebrate what they did rather than immediately be like, all right, well, next year the Super Bowl's in Santa Clara, so let's book tickets. Because, other teams that are well set up are going to try to kick everybody's ass too. Yeah. Seattle, I like Mike McDonald a lot. I think there are there's smart other teams out there. It's Game of Thrones, man. And everybody's got their own little city state, and they're going to try to kick your ass next year. So you got to keep the big picture in mind.
I like it.
But you got to like where they are.
It's changing. It's going to change quicker than we think.
Right, dude. Totally. I don't know if Jordan Love is regressing. I think the Rams could be really freaking good next year with that front seven they've got that's so young.
Mhm.
I think it'd be silly to give up on Detroit. I don't think Philly's going anywhere. That's just the NFC, right? But I think Washington has established they are a playoff contender. And
You're no longer looking at Washington as a team that, they just floating around. No, they are a contender.
And
that's all you need.
They talked about this yesterday, and I think what I had always stressed was organizational alignment. Was Harris hires AP, hires the coach. They all agree on the quarterback and work to develop the quarterback together. And that had never happened here because you had ownership getting involved. And then when there were young quarterbacks, you had members of the front office not fully buying in or the quarterback not full. I mean, think about how it went wrong with Kirk, how it went wrong with Robert. I mean, you go further back to Jason Campbell, who had like 17 offensive coordinators in
every other offseason.
Right. Like Patrick Ramsey damn near got concussed every third play. Like the organizational alignment never occurred until this year. And then you drop on top of that, oh, wow, Jaden immediately can play and looks like the absolute truth going forward. And that, to me, is where you should be right now. We got time for free agency and draft picks, but, it's okay just to be, at this point,
reminisce.
Not even it's
like,
not even 48 hours old.
It's not 48 hours old, but I think, it's you got to get to that point of truly admiring what they did, then move on. I don't think right now we should be automatically jumping to what's going to be happening in 3-4 months. You got to talk about it then.
The only difference is it's not 3-4 months because they played so late into the year.
But about 2 months.
Yeah.
1 month, 2 months. So we're going to be able to talk about it in about a month. We need to talk about it and then have to talk about it again.
The thing that could happen now, Nate Dogg, is coaching. There's going to be, we know there's going to be roster turnover, but that doesn't happen until mid-March. The coaching stuff's going to happen now. I don't think Cliff's going. Are you concerned about Cliff going?
No, it's definitely a possibility, but you're talking about to New Orleans?
Yeah. I don't think I don't see it, but I don't know.
I don't see it either, but you know things happen quick in the NFL. It could happen in snap of your fingers. But no, it looks, knock on wood, it looks like we've retained Cliff, which I think is huge just for Jaden's development, for the offense to remain on the same page. I think the offensive line, for as ragged as the offensive line was at times this year, I think just them being comfortable in Cliff's offense and just, again, it's all just everybody being on the same page and them being able to run it back next season. I think that's extremely important.
I agree. If I was Cliff, I wouldn't be leaving for New Orleans. That doesn't do much for me.
No.
That doesn't. I'm not Cliff though, so who knows? And the opportunity to be a head coach of the NFL is incredibly intoxicating.
Yeah.
I don't think he goes though. And one thing Brian and I talked a lot about yesterday, and I'm curious if you land here too. The turnovers were a major problem. The refs were bad, but I think Philly proved they're the better team.
Yep.
And I think Washington's goal now is to build a team that can beat Philly regularly, right? Yeah. Bless you. And just, all right, what is Philly? Big and strong on both lines.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Washington needs to get to.
That's how you win.
Yeah, and let's remember, and I don't like bringing this up. It pains me to bring this up, and I don't like harping on it, but Ron Rivera was a terrible drafter, and this is a team without first-round draft picks. This is a team that took Emmanuel Forbes and Jamin Davis and Jahan Dotson. This is a team that no longer has Chase Young or Montez Sweat. These are all first-round picks that aren't on the roster anymore. This is a team that just made it one game from the Super Bowl without guys like, on the offensive and defensive line like the Eagles have. Like you just said, this is a team without a Jalen Carter. This is a team that doesn't have the game-changing players that the Eagles have. We have some guys. We don't have all the guys. And the Eagles are just absolute dogs in the trenches on both sides of the football. They are just absolute warriors. And they, what do you want to say? They outpowered our guys, and just is what it is. Sometimes talent overcomes everything else, and the Eagles simply had more talent, and it showed. And I don't think that's anything to be embarrassed about or ashamed about. This was year one of the rebuild after Ron Rivera screwed this team up through the draft for 5 straight years. It is what it is. I think we just have to accept that. I think our guys battled what's that word? Valiantly. That word, yeah. And they have nothing to be ashamed of either. But it just, at some point, having a bunch of first round picks on the team like the Eagles do is going to be better than our team that doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, let them build. Nate Dogg, I've never said this after a football season. Your hope and optimism and positive prognostications were all proven correct, bro.
Yes, sir.
We've been doing this for 4 or 5 years, so you're 1 of 4. But hell, you nailed it this year, dude.
I mean, I want to give myself credit.
I'm shocked you want to give yourself credit.
No. For riding and dying with everybody, though. Like, it was, I really put myself on the train tracks as the train was coming for guys like Carson Wentz and not Brady Quinn, whoever that wide receiver, Trey Quinn, and just guys like that. Who
you lost us on those, Nate. Be honest.
We needed to find somebody at some point.
But
and we finally
you need to be
did,
truthful to yourself too. Those people were not the people.
They weren't. They certainly weren't. But now we're building with the people. We have the quarterback. We have the GM. We have the coach. We have the front office. We still have Terry, who is absolutely amazing. We have a bunch of salary cap room. We have a bunch of guys coming off the books, for next year. So, yeah, it's a fun time to be us.
I like that. It's a fun time to be us. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you, buddy.
Be cool, brother.
Hey, it's been a great football season. Shout out to all the millions and millions of your listeners who have tuned in every Tuesday. And let's keep this going. And when we talk on January 28th of next year, hopefully we'll be talking about our favorite restaurants in San Francisco.
All the Nateaholics. I'll tell you the truth. Santa Clara is about 90 minutes south of San Francisco.
Way down there.
Well, let's find a good restaurant in San Jose. All right, dude?
That sounds amazing. I love San Jose.
See you, buddy.
See you guys.